Welcome to the 5-Minute Biographies podcast, where every week we tell you interesting things about interesting people in about 5 minutes. And now here is your host, Wayne Armstrong.
Hi, welcome to the 5-Minute Biographies podcast, episode 30, Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov is an American author who is perhaps best known for his works in the science fiction genre, particularly relating to works about robots. However, he also dabbled in other genres, such as mystery and fantasy, in addition to writing a number of popular science books during the course of his role as Professor of Biochemistry at Boston University. It is believed that he wrote and edited as many as 500 books during the course of his life, and he is considered one of the big three science fiction writers of the era. He was also a prominent member of Mensa, and served as the organisation's president for a while. The exact date of Asimov's birth is unknown, but it is believed to be sometime between 4th of October 1919 and the 2nd of January 1920, though he personally celebrated his birthday on the 2nd of January. He was born in Petrovichi, Russia, to Anna Rachel Asimov and Judah Asimov. He came from a family of millers and had both a younger brother and sister. When Asimov was just 3 years old, his family emigrated to the United States, and he ended up living in Brooklyn, New York. Interestingly, despite his Russian heritage, Isaac never learned the language, in large part due to the fact that his parents never spoke it around him. He became a naturalized citizen at the age of 8. It was around this period that Asimov began to develop an interest in science fiction, as he became fascinated with sci-fi pulp magazines. Interestingly, he was originally forbidden from reading these pulp books, as his father believed them not to be educational. However, the young Asimov managed to convince his father otherwise by pointing out that they had the word science in the title. This interest started his path to becoming a writer, and by age 11, Asimov was writing his own stories. By 19, he had become competent enough to sell some of these stories to sci-fi magazines, which in turn shaped much of his later career. During this time, Asimov also attended a number of public schools in New York, including Boys High School in Brooklyn. Following his graduation, he eventually moved on to study at college, originally in zoology. However, he changed his major after just a single semester, as he objected to dissecting a cat as part of his lessons. He eventually moved on to study chemistry at Columbia University, despite the institution's initial reluctance to accept him, before completing his PhD in biochemistry in 1948. He eventually went on to work on the board of the university. Asimov had been seeing a woman named Gertrude Blugerman, and they would eventually marry in 1942, moving to another area of Boston a year after Asimov achieved his PhD. The marriage bore 2 children, David and Robin Joan. However, the couple split in 1970. Following the official divorce in 1973, Asimov began seeing Janet O. Jepson, whom he married only 2 weeks later. Asimov's early career began with the writing of science fiction short stories, as mentioned previously, but he eventually graduated to writing full novels in 1950, with his career in that particular area being both short and prolific, essentially ending in 1958 following the publication of The Naked Sun. During this period, Asimov also became increasingly involved in writing non-fiction works, specifically in the areas of biochemistry and popular science. His output of popular science books began to rapidly increase as the space race between the USA and USSR began to heat up, practically eclipsing his science fiction work until it became his primary focus. This focus remained until the early 1980s, when Asimov would once again shift his attentions back towards the genre that he had loved since he was a child. The publication of Foundation's Edge in 1982 marked Asimov's return to the genre, and he became extremely prolific again, right up until his death. Through the course of his work, Asimov is credited with contributing a number of words to the English language, including positronic and robotics. He also devised the 3 laws of robotics, which govern the creation of robots within his works, and are still referenced today in the real field of robotics. Asimov began experiencing heart troubles before entering his second phase of science fiction writing, suffering a heart attack in 1977 and having triple bypass surgery a year after the release of Foundation's Edge. He died on April 6, 1992 of apparent heart and kidney failure. It was not until 2002 that his second wife, Janet, revealed in a new edition of Asimov's autobiography that he had in fact contracted HIV through a blood transfusion, which had led to a number of the issues that eventually caused his death. Isaac Asimov is still remembered as one of the most prominent science fiction authors of the modern era, and his works are enjoyed by many fans of the genre all over the world. I hope you enjoyed that episode of 5 Minute Biographies. If you'd like to see a transcript of the show, head on over to the 5 Minute Biographies website at www.5minutebiographies.com/episode 30. If you'd like to make a suggestion for a future biography, then please use the Suggest a Biography form on the site. If you get a spare few minutes, it would be really great if you could leave me an honest review on iTunes, and if you don't want to miss any future episodes, why not subscribe while you're there? You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter, and if you'd like to get in touch, please use the contact form on the site or leave a comment beneath the biography on the site. Finally, why not check out our other podcast, 5 Minute History, which you can find on iTunes and at 5minutehistory.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the 5 Minute Biographies podcast at www.5minutebiographies.com.